our official welcome to our monthly virtual recruiting call. June's call is focusing on account processing. It's one of our larger areas here at Revenue, and we're very excited. We have 50 openings for our trainee title. I am joined today with several guests. I'm going to quickly go through the list, and then you'll hear more from some of our guests for this session. Julianne Brownback is an RTS 3. Jack Churchill is an RTS 1. Whitney Elders is a PSA. We have Millie Atkins on the phone. We have Melissa Lucan on the phone. We have Brett Stice and Nick Austin and Chris Bauman and last but not least, Kevin Richards. So we have a action-packed agenda for you all this afternoon. I'm going to give a little bit of an overview. If you've been on before, this might be a little bit of repeat. I might mention something you didn't hear last time. If you're just joining us, we do a brief overview of Revenue. This will go quick because we really want to focus on the meat and potatoes of our session today, which is account processing, and we want you to hear from the folks that are from that area. This is our disclaimer. We're not here to give you any kind of tax advice. I'm not an attorney, never claimed to be one. We're just here to talk about all fun things recruiting and talk about revenue for a little bit. So our mission basically is to administer taxes. We collect taxes, we process those, we turn around and we disperse those. And we've been doing that for a long time. We were legislated years ago to process the motor fuel tax, and today we process over 82 different taxes. We have over 1,300 employees at Revenue, and we have everything from storekeepers to chief economists. And when I say everything in between, I literally mean everything in between. So all kinds of different jobs. Today we'll focus on what's called our Revenue Tax Specialist trainee that is in account processing. You'll get some more details on that. The picture you see here on your screen is our building called the Willard Ice Building. It's located in Springfield, Illinois, and it's the largest of our locations. We do have 6 others, Rockford, Illinois, Des Plaines, Chicago, Marion, and Fairview Heights. So and these openings are, the majority of them are in Springfield. We do have, I believe, 1 trainee title that might be in Chicago. I'll have to double check on that. But what we really want to focus on and emphasize at Revenue is that we like to hire people to join our agency that are as diverse as our citizens in the state of Illinois. So we often get the question, am I too old to work there? Or do I have to be a certain shape, size, or color? And the answer is no, absolutely not. So here are the 6 locations. Probably the takeaway on this one is that very last point, which is remote work ? We get that question all the time during these presentations, and it really does depend on the position and the program area. So as you can imagine, I give the example that we process taxes, and not everyone wants their tax information at home on someone's kitchen table working remote. So some of our jobs we keep here in the building for that reason, and other jobs can. So what I will say is the trainee title that we'll talk about today, the majority of that training period needs to be here in the building. Could there be a time where some of those positions could be remote down the road? Yes, but it really depends on the individual, the specific job you're doing, the need of the organization. I will not cover all of the bullets on here. I like to pick out the few that I enjoy the most. We are very proud of our 37.5-hour work week. To me, that means work-life balance. You can maintain a full-time job, have a family. You have your nights and weekends to yourself. You get a very generous paid time off package so you can travel, use that time to do hobbies, go back to school. It's one of the greatest advantages of working for the state of Illinois. We also have a very comprehensive benefit package. It includes health, vision, and dental, and there is no waiting period for that. So once you join, you are able to have all of your benefits on day 1. We have all of the additional benefits that are listed here, so it kind of depends on what your need is, and you can pick and choose what works best for you. The last bullet is Be Well, and that's a statewide health and wellness campaign, and then Revenue has their own health and wellness program as well that we are kind of gearing up for. So it's a very exciting time for that program. Probably the two biggest items on here, well, actually three. So the public service loan forgiveness, if you've been out of school for a while and you're repaying your student loans, we do qualify as an employer. So a lot of our new employees want to research that benefit. Tuition reimbursement is a big one for us. Not every state agency offers that, and you'll hear from one of our guests today how she utilized that benefit to go back to school and get her MBA. So we reimburse up to $5,000 a year in tuition reimbursement. So it's a great way for you. If you have your bachelor's degree, I always suggest work someplace where they'll pay for you to go back and get a master's degree. The last one was interesting. In a bunch of different webinars I've done recently, they say the number one thing that young adults entering the workforce want right now is a pension. And we have two options. We have the regular state pension that we offer, and we also have deferred comp. So you get a lot of extra bang for your buck working for the state. Probably one of the best things at working for revenue over other state agencies you'll find is the career potential. You'll hear from the folks on our call today how they have advanced from the time they've started in these trainee titles and where they are today. I would say more than half of our leadership started in trainee titles and have advanced up into higher level positions. So career development is something that we are very passionate about. We have all kinds of additional voluntary benefits that we offer as State of Illinois employee. You can read through that list. The one that popped up yesterday in our run through was the pet insurance. And if you have a pet, you know how expensive it is to own them sometimes. So that's a great one to look into. You do pay for these benefits, but they are available for all of our State of Illinois employees. Now, one of the things that we offer, well, we don't, revenue doesn't, but the State of Illinois offers is career counseling. So if you are interested in working for the state and you're just not quite sure which job you would be appropriate or qualified to apply for, you would want to reach out to the CMS counseling section. It's the email is right here listed here, and you can email them and they will set up an appointment with you to review your resume, talk to you about your experience and schooling, and then they can help you identify jobs that you would be qualified for. So it's a free service, and I highly recommend, if you're not sure which direction, but you know you'd like to work for the state, I would reach out to them and they can help you. Now, hopefully our goal is by the end of this session today, we can get you all excited about the positions that we have open in account processing, and you want to go apply for these jobs. The key to applying for a State of Illinois job is you have to apply before the link or the posting comes down. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next slide. I wanted to give you an idea, a visual of where you're going. So if you go to our website, tax.illinois.gov, and you hit About IDOR, there's a drop down, and there is a section for career opportunities. And then you will go to, it looks like this, you'll go to the job posting, and once you click job posting, it will show you the jobs that are live right now. And each job has a different close date. Again, you have to apply before the end of that close date. The jobs we're focusing on today are the Revenue Tax Specialist trainee positions. You'll see a lot of other ones, the Tax Specialist 1. There might be some 2s or 3s thrown in there as well, but you really, in order to get your foot in the door, you have to focus on the trainee title. That's the one we'll emphasize and talk about today. Now, once you click that link, then it will take you to the top of the posting, and you'll see right at the very top, Department of Revenue is the agency name and the closing date, 6/27/2024 at 11:59 p.m. So that is in 2 days. So time is of the essence. You'll also see the number of vacancies, 50. That is 50. So we're looking for a lot of new talent to join our team. So there's a high probability that if you meet the minimum qualifications for this job, that you could get a phone call. So you'll want to read through the essential functions. Did I say Tuesday, or is she just adding? Oh, Thursday. Okay. Yeah, Thursday is the deadline. So you want to make sure you apply by Thursday. Going back to the minimum qualifications, if you meet the minimum qualifications, which is a bachelor's degree, then you should apply for the position. A little bit of information. There's a lot of what you just saw and a lot of what you see now in the middle. You will want to make sure that you hit that red apply button at the bottom. So let's see here. When you apply, there's going to be some answers to question, and I cannot emphasize this enough to everyone, to please be very thorough when you apply and answer these questions. If they ask you if you have a college degree or if you have experience in a certain area, please don't just say yes. Tell us when you got to, how long you've had that experience, where you got the experience, the type of experience that you have, and your answer should match your resume. Once someone's looking at that and determining if you're qualified, it needs to match. So if you just tell us, yes, you have 3 years of experience, but you don't tell us where, it's sometimes hard for them to match that up. So you want to make sure you're very thorough in your responses when you apply. I hope that makes sense. And now I am going to turn things over to Kevin Richards and spend some time visiting about the account processing area. So take it away, Kevin.
All right. Thank you, Julie. I'm Kevin Richards. I'm the program administrator over account processing. First of all, account processing, as Julie said, we administer over 82 different state and local taxes. The account processing program area employs 390 of the IDOR's almost 1,500 total employees. So over 25% of the agency is under processing. We have an annual budget of $46.6 million. Last year, we processed over 17 million different returns and payments and deposited over $67.5 billion. So it's a busy place. So next slide, please. So the APA structure is made up of 2 bureaus. So we have the Returns and Deposit Operations Bureau, and there's 5 divisions underneath it. It's the Electronic Commerce Division, Document Control and Deposit, Data Entry Division, Records Management Division, and our Chicago Operations Division. Then the Central Processing Bureau is the other bureau, and we have the Individual Processing Division underneath it, Business Processing Division, Sales Tax Processing Division, and the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Motor Fuel. So, next slide. A lot of people ask background and skills needed. What I can tell you is our hires come from all kinds, different walks of life, all kinds of different backgrounds, and some of the highlights here are, people have degrees in law enforcement, education, finance, banking, retail, food service, construction, information technology. The list goes on and on. As far as skills needed to succeed, include the following: willingness to learn, effective communication, positive attitude, ability to focus, patience, organization skills, cooperative attitude. One of the things that I emphasize for all members of the APA team is the 3 C's. One of the 3 C's meaning we communicate, we cooperate, and we collaborate. And it's a very team-oriented environment. And so at this point, we're fortunate because we have 3 APA team members with us today. And I'm going to let them tell a little bit about their background, how they came to revenue, et cetera. And what I can emphasize is all 3 of these employees that started out as a revenue tax specialist trainee, which is the job you're going to be applying for. So with that, I'm going to introduce Jack Churchill and go around and make about.
Hello. So I'm Jack. I started here about almost 2 years ago in the revenue tax specialist trainee position. I was a graduate from Illinois State in 2022, and then I took a position here shortly after, about 3 months. And yeah, I took a leap of faith there. I didn't have too much training prior to with tax knowledge in general. So I graduated from business marketing with the business school at Illinois State. And then again, shortly after, about 3 months, I took my first position here with the trainee. And yeah, I took that leap of faith and just trusted the trainee process because I heard good things from my family's friends. And they really believed in the trainee process. And yeah, again, took that leap of faith, and I have not regretted it once. I'm going to pass it over to Julianne as well.
Hi, my name is Julianne. I graduated with a bachelor's degree of sociology from Southern Illinois University in Edwardsville. And right after that, I had a job as a manager in the call center. And I was young. I started out my family, and I heard great things about people who worked for revenue, especially the benefits when it came to the flexibility. So my son was young, I applied, and I got the job, and I really liked it ever since. I started out as a revenue tax specialist trainee. I'm now Revenue Tax Specialist 3. I've been here for 11 and a half years, and I think the biggest thing here is I really like working here. Prior to this, I had no knowledge of taxes except that they had to be paid. So other than that, I really liked it, the training program, everything, everyone was very accepting. The resources we were given, everything was, I really appreciate it, and I've been here for 11 and a half years. So I highly recommend applying for this title. Next, we'll go to Whitney.
Hello, my name is Whitney Elders, and I came to Revenue in 2013. I graduated from Eastern Illinois with a communications degree. Most of my coursework was in public relations and advertising. I graduated in 2009, right after the economy kind of fell out with the housing crisis, and I had interned for the Environmental Protection Agency, and they had a hiring freeze like the rest of the state. So I found a job at a dental office, and I had my daughter, and so I spent the last week of my maternity leave applying for jobs. And I had heard that the Revenue Tax Specialist training position was a really great foot in the door, and that Revenue was a great agency to work for. So I did end up accepting that position in 2013, and I didn't have any tax knowledge other than, you know, I did file my own taxes, but I don't even think that is a requirement for the job. They did an extensive training program, which I believe we'll talk about here in a little bit. And I am currently a technical support technical support supervisor in the data entry division. I was a revenue tax specialist for 3 years. I promoted up and worked in the director's office as a staff assistant to the chief of staff for 6 years, and I took my position as a supervisor 2 years ago. So all that knowledge has helped, you know, me navigate my current job, and there's just so many different pathways you can take with the agency.
Excellent. Thank you, Julianne, Jack, and Whitney. Transition into prior tax knowledge. That's a question we get all the time when recruiting is, oh, taxes. I don't know anything about taxes. So we are here to put your mind at ease. So let's hear from our 3 panelists on your prior tax knowledge.
Again, like I said, I had been with the business school, so I went for 4 years there and got my bachelor's degree in business school. You know, some general stuff about taxes, like people have talked about in the past of applying or to file your own taxes, and really just learning the basics of what that is and how everybody interacts with that. But regardless, I did not know much about the specific tax rates. And like for where I work in sales tax processing, there is multiple different rates that are applied, and that changes all over the state with different jurisdictions and things like that. But realistically, you do not have to have any prior tax knowledge coming into the position because of the fact that you are trained specifically on what you're going to work on, and there are so many avenues to answer questions or to ask for help. If you're ever struggling with anything, there's someone there to at least help you or hold your hand, and if not, you can you can reach out to someone else that's above you, and obviously email, phone calls, everything we have in here that can help out with providing any help on that. But realistically, I'm going through the 4 years for my bachelor's in marketing and sales. There was not anything revolving around sales tax, and but I'm still doing wonderful here, and I understand everything that has been bestowed upon me through the training process.
My name is Julianne again, and as I previously stated, my degree was in sociology, so we didn't really discuss numbers much at all. So I had no previous tax experience, but I do have to say, starting here, the trainers were great. The resources they had were great. If we ever had any questions, everyone gave us an answer. And even that first year of the training period, the supervisors and other staff were very cooperative with helping us and guide us along the way. So, I mean, even if you had questions or you were unsure of yourself, everyone is very reassuring and giving you the confidence that you're doing the job correctly. So, that's all I have. Whitney?
Like I had previously said, I didn't take any coursework in taxes or tax law or anything. The closest that we probably came to was an advertising class of how you could project someone who worked at revenue. And I think we have some assumptions that, we have a bunch of glasses wearing, pocket protector, CPAs running around this building. But to be honest, we have so many different types of jobs in this agency. Like Kevin said, account processing makes up 25% of the agency. And a lot of us come from no tax background at all. So it's a neat place to come into, and then you can navigate wherever it takes you.
And I'll just chime in here. I say revenue has its own little tax it's its own little ecosystem because there's so many different jobs. Many of them have nothing to do with tax returns, but they all have to do with supporting the department in one fashion or another. And we have jobs in procurement, in finance, in accounting, in telecommunications. Revenue has its own print shop. We have our own warehouse. We have a records storage area that is very vast. And so there's so many different jobs, and your career path can take you. And so the other thing is back to as far as prior tax knowledge, the bottom line is if you have a 4-year degree, what that tells us is you're trainable. You've ended up, and if you have a 4-year degree or equivalent work experience equivalent to a 4-year degree, that tells us that you are trainable. And so I think hearing from 3 of our team members, they all came from different backgrounds, and we welcome that, and I think that makes it even more of a diverse work environment, and it's something we pride ourselves in as well.
Excellent. So transitioning over to the actual training, so that's a question we get a lot of. We've heard from all 3 of our panelists today about the training that you get. So Kevin, can you kind of walk us through a little bit of the training?
Yeah, so so for the RTS training, it's a period that normally lasts 12 months. Some of the training will include an overview of policies and procedures regarding not only account processing, but IDOR in general. We do tours of the entire building. At the Willard Ice, it covers 6 floors, 3 city blocks. It's 675,000 square feet. So what that is equivalent to, if you can imagine 3 Walmart supercenters stacked on top of each other, that is the size of the Willard Ice building. We're also big on, as we've talked about, training on all different kinds of applications, special software. Each of the different divisions has their own specific training program. And one of the other things that I can tell you is when we're going through this, we're hiring 50 revenue tax specialist trainees. There's going to be 2 different start dates, a class of 25 each. You're going to be going through this training program with your future colleagues as far as that goes. So you're not going through the training by yourself. You're going to be in a class with 25 other folks. And, much of that training will be together. And then depending on which division that you're going to go into, then they'll have training within the division. So that's a little bit on that. As far as the next slide, what I can tell you is we have a very professional staff that does the training, and we're constantly looking at how can we continue to improve that. We always ask feedback from our previous class of trainees, as well as, you're going to be trained by some of your colleagues that are experts. Julianne helps lead some of the training for account processing as far as sales tax. And Whitney's been involved in training for data entry division and has helped lead those programs as well. I'll just kind of ask anything. Jack, what's one of the things that you liked about the training program? Yeah. And let me just back up. Jack is finishing his 2nd year, is that correct?
Yes.
And Jack was also our Rookie of the Year as far as that goes. So
yay, Jack.
Congratulations to all of APA.
Thank you. I really, Julianne helped train me a lot. So she helped me off the start, and yeah, we had a small group that ended up in sales tax. It was about 3 people out of our total group that ended up in there. So it was very concise, and we got together and you got to know one another. And that really helps the environment that you start with a group of people on day one who you come in, you all meet, and you learn about the ropes of what goes on in here. And then you are kind of dispersed out eventually into the specific areas and where you're going to work. And having just the people around you so you're not alone walking into this, especially as my first job out of college, my first full-time position, it meant a lot to me to have people around me that would just be there. That it was a familiar face in the, like you said, it's a very large building, and it's, you got to scan in, it was all new to me. So just having someone there that you became very familiar with, you could joke with, that would help you out, but is also very serious and would teach you these things you've never learned before, in a very standard way that it's very easy to digest. I really think that was the best part, is that you got that collaborative effort, and then that kind of transcends when you leave to go to your specific area. You still keep some of that momentum from the, your original landing here, and it just keeps kind of going forward. And it's very easy to understand.
And I would ask Julianne, when you started as a trainee, did you ever envision yourself becoming a trainer?
No.
11 years later?
No.
It was pretty easy, right?
But I do remember the things that were difficult for me as a trainee. So as a trainer, I tried to make it a little bit easier for the trainees.
Mm-hmm.
So, and a lot of it has changed in the past 11.5 years. I think we've added several tax types. Our program has evolved. So I've tried to share with the trainees everything I've learned over the past 11.5 years when it comes to the tax types and our program. So,
excellent. Yeah. Whitney, anything else to add from your end?
It's not necessarily about training, although I think we did have a very robust training, that kind of incorporates, you read and then you do some of the actions. So it hits on the different ways that people learn. So you're seeing it, you're reading it, you're doing it. And so I think that's a great structure when you're learning something new. But I remember walking in for my interview and I was like, I'm going to work here. I mean, I'm like, till death do I part probably. But I went from having a job to having a career, and it did something different to my, my mental status of, I have a job versus I have a career. So that's one thing that I really liked about walking into the agency. They made you feel professional.
Excellent. Let's see what is there. Oh, Kevin,
there is a question in the chat regarding that somebody just forwarded to me. It says, people with accounting/finance backgrounds, can we still apply for a trainee position? And the answer is absolutely yes.
Yes.
Absolutely yes. As a matter of fact, I didn't tell you this, but I had a bachelor's in finance from also Eastern Illinois University, and I didn't start out as a revenue tax specialist trainee. When I started the department, they had a title called governmental career trainee, and I started that, believe it or not, 35 plus years ago, and spent my whole career here. And it's been as Whitney said, it's a great place to work. It's a great place that it's not just a job; you can make a career out of it. And I feel very blessed to have spent my career here and have worked with just some amazing people over the 35 plus years. So with that, should we continue on?
Let's see what is next. So talk a little bit about the actual job functions. That's what everybody always asks in recruiting is, what will I do all day? So you hear about this training you're going to get, then once you're trained, what do you do with it?
So I'm going to let each of Jack and Julianne and Whitney talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can start it off. So when we started, it's been similar to how I started originally with when we would come in and train. We would have like specific class hours where we would spend hours downstairs in a different group away from our area where we usually work, which is our desks and everything set up there. So we'd spend some time downstairs in a specific training room, and then once that would finish, we'd usually break for lunch. So that kind of training process was generally how it goes. You'd come in, you'd spend some time at your desk, and then when they would take you, they would, you would go downstairs and train a little bit more. You'd come upstairs in a learning environment, and you would kind of replicate what you're being trained on. But now that I'm certified, I've been continuously working. Sales tax specifically has a lot of different areas where you can, a lot of different tax types that you can work. So there has been a few main ones that I've been staying with, which is the general sales tax return charged on merchandise and everything under the sun there. And then as well as when vehicles are purchased and sold in and out of state, things that are, you know, come along with titling your vehicle, paying your tax on the vehicle. I help resolve issues with that as well. So there is a difference between the front end and back end. So usually when I come in, I'm gonna help on the front end of just the general getting returns through. But if people need help once they've, you know, if they've messed up on something, if they're incorrectly reporting something, I can help them out. I'll personally call them or email them, and just generally go through that as the main flow of the day. So the main meat potatoes in the day is just helping get those returns down so we don't have as much on the shelves. But yeah, generally it's coming in at, you know, 8 a.m. We're here, we get our 15-minute break in early morning, break for lunch at a normal time around 12 to 1. And then just really, and then again in the later half of the day, you get another 15-minute break there. So just really staying in that flow of helping get those returns down, the numbers of returns that we have down, helping taxpayers, calling them, and as well as receiving calls. So when you come in, you're going to log into the phones, and you'll just be on, for my area specifically, just a general hotline. If you need to be help, if people need help, they can call in and ask some general questions. No sweat there, just using what we have online to help answer those questions, as usually they're pretty regular considering the area that you're specifically put into. So pretty nice.
And Julianne, what's a typical day look like for you at this point in your career?
So since I'm a Revenue Tax Specialist 3, I do work in our QR section of the division. So a lot of my work is peer reviewing of their work, which is interesting sometimes. But I like it, I enjoy it. And then a lot of it is updating procedures. Again, as I stated, taxes evolve, legislation changes, our systems change, evolve. So I'm responsible for updating those procedures to match the changes in legislation. So that is an ongoing thing. It always has been, but definitely keeps me on my toes. And then I also create training materials. So creating training materials, try to create it so trainees get the information they need, keep it interesting, things like that. That's probably about the bulk of my day. But prior to that, I was doing exactly what Jack did. So it's always something new. Keeps you busy, you know, keeps you on your toes. It's definitely not something to come here and it's mundane. So.
And Whitney, what's a typical day look like for you at this stage?
All right. Well, at this stage, I work in data entry, and so I work with just the record layouts for all the different tax types. So we use a system before we get into Gentex, which is our main data warehouse of all of the tax information. We have to get it into Gentex, and so I work with layouts and business rules, and I partner with other areas and say, you know, what is it that you're wanting to see? You know, different things like field validations. Is it alphanumeric, and are special characters allowed? And so there's a portion of what I do that involves how we get the information into our system. I also work heavily with procedures because in my area we have people that are keying from paper and keying from returns that are imaged. And so we need to train our staff to know how to enter that information. It's not just keying what you see, which is what you think, but there's all kinds of rules. And like we said earlier, there's 82 different tax types, so there is a whole host of different rules that are applied. So my goal as a supervisor is to make sure that it's the easiest and simplest way for them to find the information. So I have a lot of screen tips, and then also help docs that are continually updated for consistency purposes when things change. We want to make sure that it's immediately changed in the procedures as well. And then the other side of my job is training. So when we have new people come into my area, There's different positions in data entry, and so there's just different trainings. And then also evolving your training and asking, you know, what can we do better for the future class coming in, and listening to feedback from the participants and then tweaking that training. So it's been interesting. I've had a couple different roles in this agency, and I've very much enjoyed all of them.
And one of the things I'll just chime in is you like an environment that strives to try to get better every day. And I think in processing, we're big believers and supporters of continuous process improvement. This would be a good place to come and work. You know, we're all about that. We're all about team environment, everybody working together, and we work across different program areas as well. So one thing that I really enjoy about working at Revenue is I still, even after 35 plus years, learn something new virtually every day that I walk through the door. And that, to me, that's exciting. And, you know, I learn a lot from my colleagues and the APA team as well. So with that,
Very good. We're
going
to do a quick recap. So remember, you only have until Thursday to apply. You need to apply while the link is live and posted. Make sure your answers and your application is very thorough. Go to tax.illinois.gov to find the link. I hear common themes in here, a lot of training. We will train you. You don't have to have any experience. There are no interviews for these positions, so that is definitely a plus. Now, I think we're going to switch, talk about some fun things. Typical workday, we've talked a little bit about that. Does anybody think of anything else you would want to add to that? Covered all of our bases there?
I think I'm pretty, yeah.
You know, one thing that I did like as a revenue tax specialist, I worked in the unitary division in business processing. So it was working with those companies that are parent companies of many other companies. And you would get taxpayers that maybe weren't super excited of the letter they received, but by the end of the phone call, you were able to, like, help them get through it. And like 95% of the time, they were so excited that they reached someone in person and were able to, like, work through their problem and leave with it resolved. So that was really rewarding. So some people are really scared to talk to taxpayers, and sometimes there's a lot of emotions coming at you initially with those phone calls, but you just listen to them and then be like, well, this is great because I can help you. And I found joy in that.
Yeah.
I agree.
And I know I am the person that works with our folks when they retire and move to that next chapter in their life at Revenue. And that is a consistent message that I hear during the exit interview process is the relationships that they formed here at work, the friendships that they've made over the years working at Revenue, but also the resource that they have become to our taxpayers across the state, and just the relationships that they formed with those taxpayers over the years and how rewarding that is. You know, I always like to say that we have people that are in business that own donut shops and daycares and automotive shops, and those people are professionals and experts in those areas, and sometimes they don't know tax, and we do know tax, and that's what our team here is in business to do, is to help provide tax services to folks who really need that help. So I think with that, now let's talk about engagement, because I would say account processing has one of the highest engaged program areas at Revenue. So you guys do a lot. So let's spend a little bit of time talking about what fun things you do. What is on here?
You want me to take it away?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack. Jack can lead off.
Yeah,
Jack can
no,
lead off.
I'm perfectly fine with that. So there was a lot of opportunities. Obviously, this was the first job I took out of college. But compared to anything from the gyms that I worked at, especially I worked at the college as well when I was there. It was practically, obviously it was part-time, but still there was not much engagement at all. And then coming here, and we have monthly food days, which is something to be a part of. Even for the events, there's usually just events that are being emailed out of, like, book clubs and golf outings, random things that are just organized that we feel like people, you know, would bring people together is definitely very common here. And you just get random notifications about that you can sign up for those. But realistically, one of the coolest things that happened while I was here was some of the people that I would go to the gym with, I met working here, because just weirdly how it had worked out, I'd seen them there and I'd seen them here, and I just, put two and two together and just, offered to meet them for a while. And yeah, it's just interesting how that relationship still goes on, and you see them every once in a while, and it's just a good relationship to maintain there. Just like I said, like how I came through originally, having people that you're close with is really important just for me personally, because it doesn't make it seem like you're just alone here and just working a job all the time. It does add that different aspect of it. But on the other side of the coin, it's not like these things are being pushed down your throat. If you're not up for one of the activities that is being presented to you, or you're offered to join, there's not a necessity to go to something. Like if there was a golf outing that you're not interested in, you don't have to go to it. If there's an option for you to do that. Same with like what I said earlier about like a book club or something like that. But definitely a lot of opportunities. And specifically for that happened last year was we decorated the whole entire downstairs with different themes of the decade. So I led our area in sales tax and put up a bunch of fun stuff there with images and a lot of the wacky stuff that we had pinned up on the wall. But yeah, it was really cool with everything, and I don't think there'll be disco balls spinning in here again, but they were up for a while, so it was awesome to see that. It's a nice flavor. But yeah, it's awesome. There's a lot of stuff to do here, and I hold that to high regard.
Before we transition over, Kevin, I want to know, in the picture on the screen here, what are you guys sampling? Is this cookies?
Yeah, this was, I believe, a cookie. We had one of the divisions did, for a fundraiser, a cookie contest, and I got asked to be one of the judges. So, it's a tough job, and somebody had to go and sample about 15 different kinds of cookies. And, that was just one thing. But we've had chili cook-offs. They've had, a couple months ago, a pie bake-off, and on Pie Day. We've had different contests that folks come up with all the time, and it's really, it's just a fun place it brings people together, and most people enjoy sampling a variety of food items as well, as far as that goes. But we have a lot of different engagements. Julianne may want to talk about something else. I don't, if anything comes to mind.
I'll just agree with everything Jack said. So.
Okay.
And I know, Whitney, you are heavily involved in the engagement side of things at Revenue. So can you share one of the experiences that you've had?
So I was lucky enough to be elected a co-chair of our Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, Accessibility Committee. I served as co-chair for 3 years. It was right out of the gate. So we were kind of framing the committee as we were living through it. So it was an interesting time, but we really stand on 3 pillars. We want to increase our retention and recruitment efforts. We want to, enhance our cultural awareness, and we want to reduce our accessibility issues that we have. We want to increase accessibility and decrease the issues that we have. And so many initiatives have come out of that program. In fact, virtual calls was one of the first goals that we kind of knocked out a couple of years ago. And so I think what a wonderful way to reach people who are not in the area, not at a college career fair. So we can push out a lot of information. We can save it as a video, we can post it, and we can let people learn from these resources, down the road. We have the recruitment and retention has really taken off. We have a program where if you are in the agency and are interested in becoming an auditor, you can take coursework that would qualify you for the Revenue Auditor Series, which is probably the most lucrative union position that we have in the agency. We have, we've done an EIC, Earned Income Tax Credit program, where we kind of flipped our perspective. Oftentimes we go after people who owe us money, and we don't really necessarily look at, well, do we owe anybody money? And so, especially in the height of COVID, we flipped that perspective, and we started analyzing, are there people who may not file taxes that would actually be owed a refund? And so we've been incredibly successful with that initiative, and that has become a systemic program that we offer year after year. We have the cultural awareness is something that we are doing a lot of in-person activities. So we've done, there was a salad cook-off just last month. We've done a salsa cook-off. We do book clubs, and we are trying to get employee engagement. So we did an effort to clean up a local garden. And the list goes on, but there's a lot of good coming out of people, just not words. We're actually, actions speak louder than words, and I think that we're doing a lot of action.
And we have a lot of programs where, to highlight a couple things that Whitney said, revenue likes to give back, as far as our employees like to give back to the community. And one of the pictures up there in the left-hand corner shows a bunch of books. And this spring we had a book drive. One of the divisions led IPD, our individual processing division, and they had a goal of they would give 150 books to one of the local areas in need of some books for young kids. That grew to over 1,500 books before it was all said and done.
Wow.
So pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
The picture below that is that's actually somebody's office. It's somebody's cubicle. There's a decorating contest that one of the divisions had, and they, gave out prizes to the most decked out cubicle as far as that goes, as far as somebody's office, and that was at Christmas time. So those are just a couple other highlights. But one of the things we also do in the fall is each of the areas, many of the divisions in the various program areas will come up with a gift basket, and folks can throw $1 in the box per basket as far as that goes. And I think last year, and some of these baskets are pretty nice, but all those proceeds goes to SECA, which is a variety of charities that the state supports. And I think last year we raised over $30,000 that went to $35,000 that went to SECA. So it's just, when I say revenue is a place that likes to give back, they're not talking about it, they're actually doing it.
I think you are an excellent example of that. I heard you took a pie in the face to help raise money. So, Whitney said, actions speak louder than words. So, Kevin?
Other duties as assigned sometimes, So, anyway, that's...
Well, I know we are at about 1:47, and I wanted to give everybody a chance to ask our panelists a few individual questions if they came through. So I know we have a couple more slides, if we can kind of go through those. Let's spend a quick minute talking about the employee and the management relationship role here at Revenue in this area.
So one of the biggest things is, you've already heard me talk about, we like to communicate, collaborate, cooperate. We have completely open lines of communication between management and staff. I have an open door policy. I have a team of almost 400. Anybody can walk into my office at any point in time. I'm happy to meet with them. And that goes all the way down the chain of command. So we value our employees. We value their input. We want their input. That's how we get better. That's part of the whole trying to get better every day, is by listening and learning from what's working, what we have opportunities to improve upon. So, that's what I can say. It's just part of our culture as far as that goes. And we're always looking for how do we get better.
Great. Thank you, Kevin. I think the last thing is talk a little bit about kind of the key theme that we've discussed throughout this session today is employee advancement. We've heard from 3 live employees that have advanced over time, and I think that speaks volumes to, as I mentioned earlier, many of our supervisors, managers here at Revenue have been promoted up over the course of their career. So that's one of the things that we like to really emphasize, is that there is so much potential growth for your career. It's not just a job, it is a career in state government and a career at IDOR. So
And if you start here and you decide you wanted to go to a different agency, I mean, what you're going to learn here can be a wonderful foundation of wherever your career path takes you. But what I always like to say is it's not a straight line from A to Z. It can be a very winding path through the agency. And we have folks that start out as trainees in all areas of the building, including HR, as far as that goes. So what you're going to learn coming in as an account processing trainee is just going to build the base, the foundation of where your career can take you.
Well, I think Whitney's a great example of that. Started out as a trainee and utilized our tuition reimbursement and got your MBA.
Yeah, public administration.
Okay.
So not my MBA, but IDOR paid for the majority of my master's degree. I went on and sat for my project management certification. That was paid for. Thank you, IDOR. And so I've not found that in many jobs, and not every state agency offers that. And since I've received my master's degree, they've increased the amount per fiscal year. So it was $2,500, and now you can receive $5,000 per fiscal year, which is amazing.
It is. It really is. So, well, I think that wraps us up as far as the actual presentation. So I know there have been a lot of questions that our team has been answering on the side while we've been visiting. I didn't know if there were other questions that were available. Let's see. Let me transition out of here. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I want to remind everyone again, you can go to the state. The state of Illinois has their big kind of global area that you can go to, which is Work for Illinois, and you can apply for any job with the state there. You can go to tax.illinois.gov and apply for the positions that we have here. Deadline is June 27th, 11:59 p.m. Make sure you sign up for job alerts. So we've talked today, the focus was on account processing and that RTS title that we have open. We have many jobs at Revenue, and if there's not a job today that you're interested in, there might be for the future. You want to make sure you sign up for job alerts because you'll get a text message or an email. We will not send you tax information. We're not going to bombard you. We will just simply let you know that jobs have been posted. So there might be something in Whitney's data technician positions that could be coming open. There might be something down in the storeroom. There might be something in HR. So jobs post all the time. Can't stress that enough. So sign up for job alerts. Again, complete your application in detail. Ensure that your information on your resume and your application are consistent, that they match up. And all of our calls are recorded. We try and do them monthly, depending on schedule and who's available to help us out. But you can go to our webpage, that tax.illinois.gov, in the same area under career opportunities are the previously recorded webinars are on there, so you can go back and listen to those as well. So I am going to stop sharing the screen and see if there are other questions on there that we need to talk about. Not all of my experience, this might have been a question that comes through, not all of my experience might be applicable or relevant to the trainee position at IDOR. And you might have experience that may or may not apply, but.
Well, and it's broadening it, you know, have you researched something? Have you learned a new skill? Have you communicated with somebody trying to translate jargon into something that is, you know, something that they can understand? There's a lot of different ways that you could have been in the medical field or something, and you can take those security protocols that you had in place for HIPAA, and you can translate it into, well, you know, I did this to keep that information secure, so I would apply the same thought process for tax information. So you might not think that it's applicable, but I would say that it absolutely is.
Yeah. And I know another question that came through, I always emphasize when I go out and talk to folks at career fairs and these calls, your application or your resume with the state of Illinois should be completely different than if it is going to be with Walgreens or McDonald's or Macy's or any place else, private industry. You want to make sure to include all of your prior work experience. And people say, oh, no, it only needs to be 1 page or 2 pages. Nope, you want to put all of it on there. So basically, they're reviewing all of the jobs that you've had. So if you worked in junior high, high school, and had jobs, You are the captain of your football team. If it could map onto a job that the state of Illinois has open and you can show a direct correlation between those two events, then by golly, you want to put that on your resume. Everything that you've done from volunteer work, if there's anything that could help you show that you have skills or knowledge or experience or education to do that job, you want to make sure you emphasize that on your resume. So your resume might be 5 pages, 10 pages. If you've worked for a long time like I have, it might be 20 pages, and that's okay. It really is to your advantage to do it that way. So anything else that we've missed? Questions that we want to talk through? Brent, it looks like you're unmuted. Is there anything on your team that we need to cover for everyone? His audio is off.
I don't think so. We did a good job. Questions?
Yeah, great job. So we actually today have 2 teams. We have one in a conference room meeting here, and then we have a second location of a team meeting over there helping with the questions. So I want to give a special shout out to everyone that jumped on the call. I think I counted this up. Between us, we have over 90 years of experience sitting in the 2 rooms, either in account processing, tax processing, data processing, human resources. We've got a lot of experienced folks here with us today. So we want to thank you for your time this afternoon, and we really appreciate you being on our call with us this afternoon.
I just had a thought. If we have just a minute, but for those people who may not have a bachelor's degree, but they have an equivalency, their work experience, can you elaborate on how you can identify that on the application process so that they don't get kicked out?
So really spelling that out on the jobs that they've done and making sure that it's emphasized on their application. And Millie, I know you do this a lot. I don't know if you're able to come off because she really is the expert on this and can speak to it.
Yes, if you don't have a bachelor's degree, CMS is going to review all of your jobs that are listed on your resume. So they're going to look at your job duties and see if that aligns with the equivalent of a 4-year degree, which is why you want to be as detailed as possible. If you're really brief on your resume, they may not give you any credit for that experience, and then you won't be pushed forward. If you have a bachelor's degree, it's automatic. They'll just go ahead and qualify you, but when it comes to your experience, you need to be as detailed as possible so they can give you credit for that.
Yeah, can't stress that enough. So there's no space limitation on how much information you put on your resume, so you need to be as detailed as you can so that you get that proper credit, as Millie said. Thank you, Millie. So anything else that we can think of before we depart and let you go on your way today?
Well, I'd just like to thank the folks that joined via WebEx today. Hopefully this was informative. I encourage you to apply, and we would love to have you join the APA team and be part of it. You know, what I say is, you know, one thing about it is no job, everybody's job at the agency, what you do matters. What you do impacts. You know, we get over 6 million individual income tax returns, and I tell folks that work here, everybody, what they do on a day-in, day-out basis matters because it impacts somebody. Whether it impacts somebody in the agency, it impacts the taxpayer, it impacts the business. What you do matters, and you know we hold that in very high regards as far as that goes. So, again, thank you for your time, and encourage you to apply. I would love to have you join the APA team.
Start dates again are?
Start dates will be the first class. We're going to hire 50 people. 25 are going to start the Tuesday. Our goal is to start the Tuesday after Labor Day. And the second class will start October 16th, middle of October.
Excellent.
Okay.
Kevin, team, everyone, thank you so much for being on the call today. Have a wonderful Tuesday, and we'll see you next month. Thank you.
Thank you.